The opinions expressed here are those of the individual participants. Prairie Coast Community Radio takes no position on issues discussed in this program.
Hi, I'm Candace Michelle, and this is Our Community. For millions of Americans, the past 2 months have felt kind of like a bizarre nightmare, an alternate reality that we can't seem to find our way out of. We're angry and afraid at how quickly and easily our form of government that has existed for some 250 years is being dismantled and thrown on the trash heap. Every day, at virtually any hour of the day, some new assault occurs against our democracy, against our Constitution, against the very values that are the fabric of our country. It's exhausting trying to keep up with the onslaught. And trauma can do that to you. And for many of us, daily trauma since January 20th is the world that we now find ourselves in. Today we're going to talk about that world, what has happened to the country we love and some of the people we thought we knew. On the one hand, the issues are national, but on the other hand, they're as local as your next-door neighbor who still has his "Let's Go Brandon" sign hanging next to his "God Bless Trump" banner. My guests today for this conversation are all local community members, just ordinary folks like you and me, who feel we can't ignore what's happening and have a civic duty to keep sounding the alarm. I invited them because of that sense of community. Ray Gary, host of the music shows What's Going On and Moondog, and host of the live talk show Curry Cafe that airs on Sundays at 3 p.m. Rick McNamer, another voice you hear a lot on KCIW, doing station breaks, public service announcements, as well as a few soapbox pieces, and who also acts as producer on Curry Cafe. And finally, Michael Gorse, whose voice you also hear in station breaks and announcement, and a fairly recent KCIW volunteer who brings with him video recording and editing expertise to expand our podcasting and newscasting ability. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. It's so nice to see these faces.
We all enjoy being here.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Nice to see you.
And I think, Candace, you said everything that we're going to say today, so
we're done.
It'll be a very short show.
Very short show.
So take over.
So
I'm sure we all
really do want to thank each one of you, though, because we are volunteer run here, and each one of you makes a huge contribution. So just, I want to say thank you.
Well,
the thing that upsets me an awful lot is I watch this guy giving speeches or talking to groups.
Which guy are we talking about?
Trump. Who else?
Yeah. Oh, there are some others, unfortunately.
He says the most ridiculous things, and people cheer and applaud, and God thank Trump. And a couple of years ago, I'm a retired police officer. He was talking to a group of police officers, and some big thing, because there's hundreds of them there, and a bunch of them in the stands behind him. And he was talking about arresting gang members or some damn thing like that. And he said, I want you all to know that, when you're putting them in the car, you don't have to be quite so gentle, The cops cheered. They applauded and cheered. I have never been so embarrassed by my ex-brothers in arms in my life. Do they not even realize what the responsibility, what the job is? The job is... One of the first things that we're taught in the academy is you take nothing personal. You are out there. If somebody calls you a name, they're not calling you a name. And even if they are, so what? And we don't carry out grudges.
Right.
I've arrested, my main job my last several years was being a sexual abuse investigator. So I've arrested people who were literally having sex with their 3-year-old daughters. I treated them just like they were gentlemen, and that's the way it's done. It's not my job to punish them or to berate them or anything.
Well, what I want to talk about today is where we are right now in terms of our country, because what the example you just gave is like that's how we used to be, and now we seem to find ourselves in this other reality where bullying is not just okay, it's the best. It's the way you show you're strong and, powerful.
It's celebrated.
It is.
The strong,
At least
strong leaders around the world are celebrated. The dictators, the despots, the people who get whatever they want.
Celebrated by our own despot.
I call it that we're in the twilight zone right now. I'm sure most people listening remember that show. And and I'm in the plane and I'm looking out the window and that guy is tearing the wings apart. Remember that?
Yes.
There was a little, and nobody's listening. Hey, he's tearing the wings apart.
It's a funny situation to be in. I mean, it does feel like, at first when the election went the way it did, and that's a whole other topic. At first, a lot of us were like in disbelief, like how did that happen? Because we were certain that it was going to go the other way.
Well, and how did it happen twice?
Yeah.
The election. I mean, he's reelected. That is what blew my mind. But and now everybody might have a different affiliation. I'm a lifelong Democrat, but the Democrats didn't help themselves in a lot of ways. I have critiques on that too. But yeah, to see this crazy person with crazy people behind him get elected again, these are unprecedented times to me.
No, I agree.
And we learned from his first term that he can never tell the truth. He's always going to do this, and it's going to happen, and in about 2 weeks, I'm going to reveal that. 2 weeks never comes about. He was going to end the war in Ukraine before he was even sworn in, during the interim. It would be no problem at all. He's done a wonderful job at
he was also going to stop the Palestinian Israel Gaza craziness.
Right.
And that's escalating even more.
I couldn't believe that he didn't have his people censor that interview he did or the meeting he had with Zelensky, where he was just. I'm looking at the television.
That was great.
Is this Saturday Night Live? And then at the end he says, "Well, it was great television." Mm-hmm. Holy cow!
I know.
It's the asymmetry of the WWF.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're in a wrestling mentality.
Right.
Well, he's a big
country's
wrestling.
in a cage fight. It's the asymmetry is on purpose. It's intentional. It's been long-term. It's destabilizing. It is intended to traumatize. We are a sick, traumatized, mentally unhinged country right now.
Yep.
Some people are traumatized into one form of behavior. Some people are traumatized into another form of behavior. But the trauma is its own reality, and we're all involved.
Yeah.
We're all in the middle of it. And the asymmetry of it is what we've never been able to get our heads around. And why would we? There is a completely, totally bought press, 100% owned by the BlackRock, the hedge funds that's been taken us down a peg from being able to own our own stories. And they've been selling us these homogenized stories of who we are, telling us how bitter we are, selling us on everything that makes this happen for them to destabilize the country. When that much money goes into an election and is proffered on the air to destabilize us, how do you think we're going to get a handle on it? We don't have the press in localities that we used to have. We don't have the newspapers to tell us the real stories. Mm-mm. We literally have to start telling our own stories over again from scratch in small places like this in order to have our stories recorded and offered to the community.
Yeah, no. I agree. We are, and as part of the whole kind of changing of history, you'll notice that the latest move has been to take references away that have anything to do with black servicemen or women
or gay airplanes.
Or I know, right? The Enola Gay. I mean,
there are arguably reasons to not be proud of that airplane, but had nothing to do with it being gay.
No.
I mean, seriously, how can an airplane have any sexuality at all? I mean, come on, people.
I don't know. It was kind of hot.
They're making it.
I guess what they did is they had some kind of a thing where they just went through all the records and had these buzzwords that they wanted to eliminate.
Yep.
So they tried to take Jackie Robinson out. Now they really pissed me off when they did that.
Took him out of the
When I was a young lad, I can't even imagine. I can't even express how much of a hero he was to me. Mm-hmm. Had nothing to do with him being black, by the way, a little bit. But it had to do with he won baseball games. He was an incredible baseball player. But anyway,
facing incredible odds at the time.
And
putting aside all this racism he had in his own team. A lot of people didn't talk to him, wouldn't shower with him, and things like. And he went out on the field and did an incredible job.
It took an immense courage and something that I don't think I could have had. I don't know.
When he debuted in Major League Baseball, he's wearing the number 42, of course. And Pee Wee Reese once famously suggested, in order to keep him safe and all the other players safe, they should all just wear 42. They'll never know who he is.
Well, yeah.
Oh my!
It was beautiful.
You couldn't tell him. You couldn't tell him at all from the other players.
Couldn't tell him from the other players. It was brilliant.
So looking at where we were when I was growing up, there was definitely Republicans and Democrats. My household was Democrat. My next door neighbor was Republican. And we were all friends, and, you know, our parents, they talked to each other. And I mean, we disagreed in policy, but we were not nasty to each other. We were not mean. We did not actually hate each other. I
kind of enjoy hating and being nasty too.
Now, Ray, only you would say that.
No, I think everybody else would say it if they were being honest.
No, I mean, it does not feel good as far as I'm concerned. You know, I don't want to have to worry about whether my next door neighbor has got his head screwed on.
Ray, I'll say one thing Ray says about the hate. I will admit that I do have a pretty white-hot hate for the administration, the people he has around him. Yep. I don't like that I do, but I do. I mean, it runs deep to me. This is the worst I've ever felt about my country.
I think
seriously.
Yeah, I think a lot of
to go back to Mike, you had a WWF reference, and it's perfect for this administration because Trump himself was part of that. Okay, when you're a kid, or maybe you have a crazy aunt or uncle that believed that stuff, it was fun. I watched it as a kid. But now there's a WWF lady, Linda McMahon, as our in Department of Education. Really? What sense? Well, it's there. She's there, and of course they're there. I believe they've already started to dismantle it.
Yep, I believe so.
Okay, there are problems. There are problems everywhere. But to yank the rug out from the education of our children,
baby with the bathwater.
And I've also seen in a one newspaper that I get. I still get some newspapers. I love it. They're vanishing. But okay, I'm going to have to. I think it was Tennessee. There was a state that they were trying to pull a couple of subjects like history, geography. I'll throw those out, but subjects that kids should know. We all should know. Mm-hmm. They were pulling those in favor of some religious studies public school. Mm-hmm. I'm deeply against that.
Yeah.
I think religion should be totally out of there. Well, you know, I'll say this, because that's such a hot button topic and controversial. At one point I thought, you know, don't teach religion as a as you should be following one. I wouldn't have a problem if they actually had religious studies to study everything, Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, all of that as a subject, because it is a big part of the world. I don't like it,
but the reality is that, you know, it's been the whole religious movement has been equated with values and ethics, and they're not the same. They're not the same thing.
And that's my point. Don't teach it that way.
Right. Teach ethics by all means. Teach values. Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't have to do religion to have those values.
No, I've always believed that, but yeah.
I mean,
that's a whole other show, I suppose.
No,
but anyway, it's part of it.
I know.
Okay.
So my question is, are we hopelessly divided?
Yes.
Certainly looks like it now. It would take some huge thing to get us all together.
Hopelessly, I mean, that's pretty negative, agreed. But we are extremely divided. I've never felt, I don't think this country has been this divided. And what amazes me is how, Ray, you were talking about it earlier. He could lie and talk about it as it's fact. And I think most of them know it's lying, but they're still behind him. Why? I don't know. Part of my thinking is that there's still a lot of racism and sexism and homophobia out there that they'll take the lies as long as he can try to keep getting rid of those. And he's getting rid of those like we were talking about, the Tuskegee Airmen, the women in World War II.
Yep.
How about the Japanese internment?
Yep.
That's personal for me because I went to school in an area there was a large Japanese population. And most of their parents, but for sure grandparents, were interred. Now, yeah, the country was on a kind of
we were in a panic mode.
Okay.
Surprisingly enough,
the government,
Roosevelt, the president, was in favor of it, and J. Edgar Hoover was against it.
Oh, that one's a new factoid on me, but yeah. Okay.
We were.
But the government did eventually apologize and make reparations.
Big whoops. Did they make reparations to the people whose farms were sold off and the businesses that were?
Yeah. I don't know to what extent.
The reparations never make people whole.
No, they can't.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
No.
On that subject, I just have one book that I read that I really loved and I recommend. Everybody probably knows him, George Takei. Mm-hmm. From Star Trek? Am I at the right show? Anyway, he was interred with his parents in a camp when he was a young kid. He wrote a book called They Called Us Enemy. I believe that's the title. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of when I first got the book, it was almost like a comic book form. Mm. I thought, I don't know about this. It was enjoyable and it was wonderful. Mm-hmm. Tells what those people had to go through. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway.
No, it's really. It's not a bright spot in our history.
Oh, no, not at all.
Like many spots that are not
bright. But we have
spots.
to erase all of those because we're going to make the kids feel bad. We cannot teach the kids in Florida that they were slaves. Or if we tell them they were slaves, the slaves were treated well. And many of them learned a trade that they could use.
Yeah.
They're benefiting from it still today, don't you know?
Yeah,
they're doing just fine.
Yeah.
I have a slightly different take. I don't think we, the people, are nearly as divided as the meme sells us that we are divided. I think that the selling us that meme is part of the stochastic terror that traumatizes people and that it's done constantly. But if you remember, while Joe was in office, Trump was regularly calling people out to do violence in the streets. Mm-hmm. They didn't show. Mm-hmm. People are not into that. There are some people who will. Right. Without a doubt, there are triggerable people all over this world, and I feel sorry for all of us that so many of us are. But as far as the actual issues that supposedly divide us and the intent for racism, it's the whites that elected Trump.
Yeah.
You know, they can talk about the percentage of black people that swapped and the percentage of Hispanics that swapped, but it's us whites that have been the issue all the way along and have been worked for racist issues from, in my life, from the crime bill back in the early 60s, from the beginning of Joe Biden's senatorial campaign. They were doing these, creating these divides, but the people are more behind the Bernie Sanders AOC ethic and are 60 and 70, 75% on one side of these coins. And in order to pass laws that are the antithesis of that, you got to create this faux violence within society. Right. So I think we're manipulated into this place. I think it's much worse than it is on a personal level in people's lives. In other words, people are better than our system of governance right now.
And I like to think that that's true. But have you had conversations with, or actually, to be accurate, they aren't conversations. They're things that I see online, right? They're not conversations.
Correct. And
people seem to have this feeling that they can be as nasty and as, mean as possible when they're online, because they're not actually, talking to a person. They're just, posting something online. But some of the stuff is like, what?
Yeah, I gave up Facebook years ago for just that reason, because I was finding that I was disliking people that I liked otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I don't know why, but I get a lot of Facebook stuff all of a sudden. People who evidently have me listed as friends or something, and
do they sound friendly?
Oh, I guess to themselves, and to me, I suppose. But one particular a personality in this community sent one the other day that he just loves seeing all these woke people getting their comeuppance or something like that.
Oh, I've got many friends that say that all the time. I'm back on Facebook after being off for 3 years, and got back on at first because of KCIW, because I thought, that's a Facebook page I need to belong to. It didn't take long to get sucked right back into the...
Yeah, and you want to answer, but why?
Well, I'm back on, and there are family members and friends that were estranged mostly right now because of Facebook. It's social media, man.
We have this little thing here called Community something or other. It's like a mini Facebook.
Oh, that I didn't.
Yeah,
you know what that
neighbor?
Next door neighbor or something.
It's
and
awful.
A couple of years ago, when Fox had to pay $750 million settlement for lying, for out and out lying, making stuff up. That's what the thing was about. During that same week, on this next door neighbor thing, somebody wrote in, if you want to know what's really going on the border, check out Fox News.
Have you listened to Fox News lately?
Never.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my knowledge of Fox News is what they play on the Daily Show, so that's not a very
No. But I'll tell you something, because my husband, for a long time, he was a Republican all of his life, and he actually voted for Trump the first time, and he would watch Fox News. That was his daily diet of news, and I worked so hard trying to get him to just turn it off or watch something else. Finally, he did start to do that recently, and now he is definitely not part of the whole Trump machine, definitely opposed. But I went back a couple of weeks ago. I just tuned in Fox just to see what they were saying. And the interesting thing is that they are talking about a lot of the same stories that I'm hearing on MSNBC or I'm reading about in the blogs or, whatever. But their take on it is completely different. And they cherry pick the facts so that if that is your constant diet, if that's what you get as news is Fox, and you've been told and conditioned by your party and by the rest of the MAGA world to not watch anything else, but because everything else is lying to you. Everybody else is lying to you. This Fox News or Newsmax, they're the only ones who are going to tell you the truth. It becomes really clear within a few minutes why they have those ideas that are
Where does
out
this
there.
come from? Sean Hannity is obviously a very smart person, and he obviously knows what he's doing. And how can he, as a person, do what he's doing, knowing he knows what he's doing?
Because money is the bottom line.
I mean, how rich can he be? He's
Well, how
I'm sure
rich is Elon Musk? It's never enough.
I'm sure Sean Hannity is somewhere close to being a billionaire. Who was the other guy that they fired for?
Bill
Bill Riley.
O'Reilly.
He said the stupidest things. No, the other guy that had the very popular show that was talking about men need
Carlson
to.
Tucker.
Carlson Tucker, yes.
Tucker
We have this major problem of men losing their virility, so they have to tan their balls, I guess was the...
Well, and I
thank you,
believe,
Ray.
I
that's
believe
what he was saying.
That's a true story. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You're right. These people, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, Bill O'Reilly, I guess, all of them, they're smart. I'm pretty sure. But I do also believe that deep inside, they're racist, homophobic, misogynist. I really believe that.
And they
what's
think
the
they're
other-
going to be on top
And
when everything...
who else is just like that? So many of this.
Well,
It's far too many.
their dear leader.
We've been
As
And
hooked into that forever, and
And Trump-
we need to get over that by an affirmative interest in getting over it, if we're going to ever get over it.
because
Trump
we
wants
have
to-
never elected a woman president.
Right.
I mean, we all need to just deal with that as reality.
Well,
We have
And the
never.
one black president that we elected for the purpose of creating the backlash
Yep.
for that it got. As soon as he was elected, Fox News was actually campaigning, sending the parties, for the beginning of the Tea Party movement. They were literally hosting the events and sending their people out and publicizing this live. They stopped drawing crowds fairly early on, and they stopped publicizing it in that way. But they had started the movement, and they got these guys elected to Congress that became the insurrectionist mob that took us down on January 6th.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if this is the right thing, for every action, there's a reaction. It was funny to me because right after Obama was elected, and to me, I think he was just the whole family to me was like wonderful, just the antithesis of what's in there now. But anyway, that being said, they were a lot of the rigid conservatives, the Tea Party, let me think if I can get this right. Because Barack Obama was elected, he caused the racism. Well, let me tell you, in a little bit or a little ways, I kind of believe that, only because a lot of the racists were so ticked off that it brought their racism to a head. And I've got a couple of family members that I rarely talk to anymore. I'll never forget talking to one, and she said when he was elected, she bawled like a baby for hours. It upset her that much that I know that a black man was elected to the presidency.
And what did she do when she found out that Michelle was actually a man?
Well, and perfect. And how bad is that? I mean, seriously,
I know,
that was all
right?
over. I was on Facebook then too. There were pictures of that, and with the bones in the nose constantly coming out. It was ugly and horrible.
Yeah, it was.
And it's still ugly and horrible.
It was, and it is.
Sure glad he got elected twice, but boy, talk about action-reaction. After him, then we get Trump.
Yep. I know.
And we get him twice. I'll never understand this.
No.
I will never understand this.
Because he kept telling us what he was going to do.
A few weeks ago, I was in here and I ran into somebody that was here for some reason, and somehow or other, on almost passing in the halls, it came up that he was a Trumper.
Oh.
And I said that to him. I said, "Are you in favor of Donald Trump?" And he stopped for a minute and he kind of looked off in the distance. He said, "If he were my neighbor, if he lived down the street, I would never have him at my house for dinner. I would never have anything to do with him. But God loves America and Trump loves America." I said, "Oh, I guess our discussion is done."
Yeah,
Well,
there's
again-
nothing to say.
There was nothing I could.
No, there's nothing to say.
If you bring a fact up to one,
Yep.
everybody here agrees you can't talk to them, and everybody listening right now who's on a liberal side will say, "You're right. You can't talk to them. They just throw up stupid."
But they don't. I mean that's my point about Fox News. If that is your only source of information, they don't think it's stupid. They are being groomed constantly about why it's not only not stupid, but it makes perfect sense, and that of course this person is doing that, and of course they're lying to you about what that person is doing. I mean, it really is insidious
This guy is going to make America safe again. He's said that many times.
in some
Going to make
universe.
America safe again, even though it is kind of safe unless you're in bad places. So what does he do to make America safe again? He releases, with no conditions, 1,600
Yep.
criminals. Many of them convicted of very violent things, like beating up cops, hitting them with. I mean, there's film of this.
No, I know.
And this guy I talked about that we had on our show a couple of years ago, I asked him about January 6th. And he says, well, I don't think I have all the facts on that yet.
I remember that explicitly.
I don't think I want to comment on.
Didn't
So,
we watch it on TV?
Yes, but you know what they didn't show you on television? They didn't show you the hundreds of people that were just walking up and down the halls and looking at the statues.
Like tourists.
They were tourists.
Yeah, and it was a love fest.
Yes, and why couldn't they come when it was open?
Yeah.
Well, again, I do remember that thing you're talking about, Ray, for sure. And unfortunately, I don't remember either one of us. He didn't allow us to clap back, from what I remember.
No, he was very, very good at
there you
parrying
go.
anything.
Good at what he does.
Yeah.
Back to this, people that don't clap back when they should. I'm going to go a little bit off here a little bit, but we talked about Gavin Newsom the other day. The one that I thought was, even though he's made a few mistakes over the years, I thought, okay, he's going to be the front runner, somebody to maybe get us back. Not anymore. If you witnessed anything recently, he's kind of gone the Bill Maher route, and let's get all the neocons and I'll buddy up to them. Anyway, he had Bannon on, and Bannon talked about the election being stolen, and Newsom let that drop. To me, that's...
So what's he going to say? He's going to say the same thing that people have been saying forever.
Well,
Right. Well, wait a minute. The election was stolen. How come not a single court in the country even was presented with any kind of proof whatsoever?
Yeah, but like I said, my point is that's when you have to hit back. Are you kidding me? The election, you know what I mean?
Right.
So he dropped off my list, if you will. This is a while back to Caitlin Collins, who's a reporter for CNN. Now, again, my disclaimer is I haven't had a TV in months, which is good. So I catch up a lot on the YouTube, like we talked about. It pops up. So she was interviewing Trump that one time, and he came out with that insidious claim how Democrats take the baby out of the womb and start chopping it up. She let that go. Now,
yeah.
granted, it's a total farcical lie, but when you let that go, that's the kind of stuff that feeds, and that's probably partly how he got elected, because these people believe that stuff.
That's
Well, they believe it or
Democrats-
they don't fight back on even. Maybe they're thinking, well, nobody is stupid enough to believe this. But yes, there are people stupid enough to believe it.
Oh, yeah.
They are stupid enough to believe that you send little Billy off to school, and little Billy's 6 years old, and have a nice day, Billy. Enjoy school, and the next time you see him, he's a girl. Without
like Billy
any
English.
parents'
He sounds
consent.
great.
Yeah, I know. So again, they don't have that experience in their lives. That their little Billy didn't go to school and come back. Billy,
No, because he's got to
right?
be homeschooled. Save him from that.
But that doesn't mean that they don't believe that it happened somewhere, right?
Oh, no.
Because that's what they're being fed.
If it's an owning the
happened
libs
somewhere.
event, it has validity there. It doesn't have to be true. The asymmetrical nonsense of it is the point.
Is the point.
And
The
remember,
cruelty is the
Gavin,
point.
Gavin Newsom once married Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Couple made in heaven, huh? Yeah.
Couple made
I know.
in heaven.
I know.
And it is those relationships that bother me everywhere in politics.
Right.
James Carville, yeah, James Carville and Mary Madeline.
She's dropped off the face of the earth too. I'm
Yes,
surprised.
but he hasn't, and
No.
he's still a pain in the. He admitted after we lost this last election. I say we and advisedly. He admitted that maybe we should have done more for working people. Here's the deal: the Clintons were triangulators. Obama was a triangulator. He was more of a DLC Democrat.
Triangulator, what, define that?
The guys that went in the back room and made a deal with the money in order to get in power for now and accomplish whatever it was they needed to accomplish. They had just crashed the entire economy. They had just passed bills in order to get the money paid back on their paper losses, as opposed to any honest reality loss. And Obama made that happen for him. And unfortunately, then gave them also the perfect, he was the perfect foil to launch the entire anti-democratic movement and anti-black movement. In the early years of the big lie of the George W. Bush time was the war in Iraq, completely lie-based. And who were the two people selling that war to America? They were both black, Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice. This is not a mistake. This is the black people lied to us, lied us into this nonsense. We can blame them now. Dick Cheney set this up. It was a plot.
Yeah.
And we have fallen into these plots over and over again. We don't seem to know how not to.
So let's talk about economically, because if it isn't clear to people what our economic situation is, it's going to be really soon. The administration's gone after so many aspects, right? They've fired veterans. They're closing Social Security offices. Howard Lutnick, I saw him on television last night saying essentially that only people who are stealing, who are fraudsters, are going to make noise if they don't get their Social Security check. Because honest people, they won't make any noise about it. They'll just assume something got a little screwed up in the works and they'll get their check next time.
They'll just starve and die and they won't be a problem.
I think he doesn't understand that there are people living.
How
he's a billionaire.
How knucklehead does he have to be to try and sell this as a concept? He knows it's a lie. He's lying. He's proud that he's lying. He's grinning at you to say, hey, I'm lying in your face. Ha, 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 ha.
Well, that's what the
and
president
every time
does.
I hear news people sit around on a set and say, this is where we are, and then all have a good chuckle about it, it's like, you guys,
yeah,
you are the issue here, are you not?
It's not funny. I mean,
And
there's
it's
nothing.
and the asocial media that drives it all.
Right.
And back to the media, real quick, we were talking about it, and again, no TV, so I get little bits and pieces. What disturbs me is most of the news, I'll use CNN for an example, which I've kind of lost hope for a long time ago, but I do pick up, there's a young lady, I can't think of her name right now, but she's a host of one of the news shows. And there's various news shows like this where they think it's great to get 5 or 6 people, different opinions. That's a good idea. But every darn time I watch that, it's a shouting fest. I don't know who's saying what. And is that what the people want to hear? Because it makes no sense to me. I can't watch it very long. And in fact, Abby Phillips, I think is the young lady's name, journalist. But anyway.
I would suggest MSNBC. I watch Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell and Stephanie Ruhle. And Stephanie Ruhle has several people around the table, and they are not shouting over each other. You hear everything that's said, and she, will make a point and ask somebody else their perspective.
She is one of the ones that I do enjoy watching.
Yeah. And Rachel Maddow is she's amazing. She's phenomenal.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm thinking, again, this whole economic thing we've watched, because over my lifetime, when I was growing up, I came from a upper middle class family. We were all in the same kind of boat. I mean, there were some kids in my school that came from a poorer environment, but most of us were kind of in the same economic range.
That describes my childhood pretty much.
Now, there's no such thing as the middle class. I mean, that has disappeared. We've got this 1% that has all of the money, that has all of the resources. Everything has been concentrated now into the top 1%, and people are not doing well. Is that enough? Is that enough? I mean, think about the French Revolution, right? When Marie Antoinette was told that the people didn't have bread, and she said, well, let them eat cake.
Right.
I mean, and she was serious, right?
Yes, yes.
She did not understand what the reality was. The French people thought guillotines were the answer.
Well, I was going to say that led to kind of a heady experience.
Very heady.
Where's that rim shot?
And it's too bad, right? But if you don't have the experience, if you are a billionaire who literally has never had the experience of being hungry, maybe you don't really get it.
I'm sure they don't get it. I, like you, Candace, and even right now, I'm a retired railroad worker. My pension is, I'm not Daddy Warbucks, but I'm doing okay. Got enough money.
Social Security?
Well, railroad retirement is different, but yeah, same kind of a thing.
Okay.
So anyway, and I'm not feeling the pain myself, but I have family members and friends that are, and they struggle mightily, mightily. So I certainly have compassion, but I'm not saying the way that Trump has taken us, he might get rid of railroad retirement one day.
Yeah.
It could happen, and make health care.
Yeah.
My gosh.
I mean, Medicaid is like bye-bye time now, right? And there's,
right.
40% of the children in this country, that's their insurance.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of seniors that I'm familiar with that know, they're having, one gentleman, a friend of mine, was went to get his prescription filled at Walgreens for 30 days, and they said that'll be something like $650.
Ooh, ouch.
He couldn't do it.
No.
I'd take a drug that'd be $500 a month if I didn't have insurance.
And that's insane.
He has insurance.
Yeah.
And a supplement. But he ended up getting around it some way, but he had to navigate,
But it's insane that the bottom line for health care is the dollar bill. That's insane.
But that goes into the economics of the whole thing. Health care is a huge part of this. There's a lot of people that probably are destitute because of their health care.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, lots of people have lost everything,
Yeah.
Lost their house, lost
just
everything.
not taking their meds.
And surely it must register with people at some level. I mean, I am always hopeful that it registers at some level that the stuff that is being done right now is not helping. The egg price has not come down. Hello, the egg price has not come down.
I bought a dozen eggs the other day, and I asked if I could get an escort to my car.
Yes, I know. Somebody brought me a dozen eggs from their chickens, and she said, "I'm bringing gold."
That is the answer, by the way. But your friend has chickens. chickens in the backyard, man. Everybody needs to have.
I know.
Instead of a chicken in every pot, a chicken in every backyard.
But you better have
And a
two.
victory garden, because what they're doing to threaten us all is killing the supply chains.
Yes. Yep.
Whether it's power, you got Russia taking out power stations in Ukraine, killing the farm products of Ukraine that were the breadbasket of Europe. This is all about taking down global supply chains and proving that if you don't have the weaponry to keep this from happening to you, by the way, you can buy it from our military industrialists. Mm-hmm. It's available to you if you got the bucks, and that's the jam scam we're operating on the world right now. Why we are becoming their enemy. We're being their enemy. We're choosing it.
We are.
Speaking kind of about what you're talking about, I think all of us have no preppers, or know what preppers are. They have the little thing out in the woods, or they have, at the very minimum, they have to-go bags and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I've always kind of scoffed at that. That's never going to happen. I ain't scoffing no more.
No, you shouldn't.
Start the garden.
I could picture.
Start the
I'm going to
garden.
have to buy guns again.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
You know, if it came to that, would I really want to even be part of that world? I don't know. The preppers thing. I mean, yeah, I'd rather go down in the. I don't have a bunker, but
Well, you'd have to. You better get going.
Well, okay, and then there's also this. I don't know if this has been around for a while, but I can't remember who was the guy that him and his wife duped, religious leader, duped a lot of people. He cried, she cried.
Jimmy Swaggart.
No, well, one of them. This other guy is the one that I saw him. You would think he would have been cast aside forever, but he came back as another pastor. His wife has long passed away. He's with somebody else now. He was selling 5-gallon buckets of prepper food that would last 40 or 50 years. Supposedly. And I'm thinking, what a life. Go down in our bunker and we'll eat this guy's gruel. And then chances are the first time you open it up, it'd be spoiled anyway. But it just, that's the kind of craziness.
Do they have one for people in their 80s that doesn't have to, that will last 5 years?
Nothing but oatmeal. Oatmeal and dried
I don't want
fruit.
I don't even plant perennial bushes. So I sure as hell don't want food that's going to last 50 years.
No, I know. This is just the craziness, the stuff that we buy, not we, hopefully, that we can buy into. That kind of stuff.
And so we've kind of touched on politically, we've touched a little bit on economically, and we've also talked a little bit about culturally, which is the whole movement against DEI, diversity,
equity and inclusion.
And inclusion, right. I actually have to say those words because...
Well, me too.
They used to be called affirmative action.
Yes, yeah. And it's amazing to me how people, particularly those who are, MAGA-oriented, do really not understand what it even is.
Or why it was necessary, why it is necessary.
And if you actually say the words diversity, so are you opposed to diversity?
They are.
So he gave the impression after that helicopter ran into the plane, which was a DEI problem, of course, before the water was done splashing.
Yeah.
And then they started talking about the FAA's policy of inclusion.
Yes.
And taking people who were disabled, was this, was that. And very, very clearly given the impression that those are the people that are on the computers routing your airplanes.
That's why the planes are crashing.
Exactly.
He even said that after years of nothing.
All of a sudden, exactly.
All of a sudden.
Exactly.
Somebody said to him, well, why would you think that's part of the problem? He says, because I have common sense. And that was the answer to it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I think that's the only answer that, I mean, even that doesn't make any sense.
No.
I don't, well, I do get it, but
Common, though.
Yeah, very common. Yes.
when do we start coming down so hard on transsexuals? And why can't people, I understand that it's a sexy subject to talk about. It's kind of fun. But don't people understand that this is a known medical situation? It's not
No, a
something
lot
that
of people don't.
No, they
And to be honest with you, years ago, I had no idea. The transsexual is kind of a new thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And
But did you think that somebody went to a drag show and said, "Oh, that looks like fun. Let's go get an operation"?
no, I did not. I think
I wouldn't have even thought about it, but
of course, these are drag shows. My parents back in the 50s and 60s, it was a big fun yuck thing for them to go to the San Francisco.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called now.
Mm-hmm.
Finocchio's.
Oh,
And there were drag shows. I mean, it was a fun,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
still fun.
yeah.
But no, the transsexual thing has become a huge beating down point for them.
And Trump said he's going to be doing something about that. There's too much of that going on.
Right.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's
so
a whole
yeah.
other
Yeah.
thing.
So one final thing that for just a couple of minutes, because we really are getting
Running
to
up.
the end of our.
Yes, we are.
Because what's been in the news a lot is the judiciary, and it looks like that might be the way we get this stuff stopped. Because
I don't know, because he can
judges-
talk to a room full of those people and say we have to get rid of these late night hosts that are criticizing me, and nobody goes, huh?
But there's been considerable pushback now from at least 5 judges. Alsop, probationary workers have, he said they need to rehire them. Boasberg is going after the deportations that have happened. Chang is dealing with the USAID stuff. Beryl Howell now is dealing with the Social Security information that got just spread out there.
Do you think that he's beyond just saying, you're just a judge? You were
No,
appointed
he's
by.
not at
I'm
all.
the president. I'm
no,
the president.
he's not at all behind it. But at some
calling
point,
federal judges, local judges, activist judges appointed by blah 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 blah.
They're going to be impeaching these guys. And you remember, these are the same guys who went judge chopping in Texas to get a 21-year-old drug that was very popular and successful on the market, has never had issues, outlawed.
Yep.
And as far as the judiciary, we can't even go to the Supreme, even though I guess Roberts recently, it's like the broken clock being right once or twice, whatever. The Supreme Court is just out of whack.
I have a friend
me.
who said who thinks that they will not let it go that far, even if they were appointed and even if they're ideologically in favor of Trump and all.
The
they
Supreme
won't let
Court?
their country be destroyed.
I
don't agree
believe
with
that
at all.
I don't believe that. I think the crazy ones, even I'll throw Roberts, the lady, and I can't think of her name, but Coney Barrett, and way back to Clarence Thomas, what a hideous man he is. Well, anyway, I don't believe that they would. I think they're going to follow their leader.
I do too.
I hate to say it.
I guess we'll see. I mean, we need to keep an eye on it.
Unfortunately, Roberts and Kavanaugh were both Brooks
Kavanaugh.
Brothers rioters back in the 2000 election, that where we elected our president, the brother of the Florida governor, by a 5-4 decision.
Yep.
Telling us that we need to now realize that if the wrong person's winning, we will just stop counting the votes.
Yeah.
Right.
Roberts and Kavanaugh were both Brooks Brothers rioters, as were Roger Stone and Scott. No, the other guy.
I can't help you.
Yeah, sorry. But
Don't look over here.
They're all on the same team. So I have no faith that Roberts is going to come through. Roberts is going to be a bit of an issue to keep some issues from coming up. But when the chips are down, he's going to vote for the oligarchy.
But he's such a
put there
nice
for it.
looking man. He dresses well.
He is.
He
He's pleasant.
looks
and,
like a
and
Supreme
his wife
Court
is
judge.
a really good lawyer, too, and makes all sorts of private money on these issues.
So, gentlemen, we are getting close to the end of this show. What I've noticed, and actually what I was thinking yesterday when I was doing this outline, was, I don't think we're going to get through all of this.
No, we could go on for another year.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, right? Because I wanted to talk about where we were at, and then what possibilities we have for fixing it, and also kind of what the history is. Like, how did we actually, kind of get here? So, I don't know. Are you up for another show?
Yes, and I would like everybody out there listening, or anybody, or if there's somebody out there that says, hey, they should have said this, send us an email.
Oh, big time, for sure.
And another thing, we mentioned very briefly in the beginning that both Rick and I are on a live talk show on Sunday afternoons. If you want to come on and discuss these issues, come on.
Or KCIW.org, email.
Yes, and you can participate in that show by text.
Good.
We don't have the money to have a 5-second delay thing, so you can send us a text if you think that we're right or wrong or whatever.
Good.
Good point.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for showing up today.
Thank you for having us.
This was fun. I think we should maybe tackle the how we got here next time,
Well, I'll be here.
Because
sounds good.
How we got here is it started 50-some years ago, how we got
You bet.
to the place that we're at. So
way back.
Yep. So thank you for being on the show, Ray Gary, Rick McNamer, and Michael Gorse. I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Back at you, Ken.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to today's show. You can access this and all our other podcasts on our website, kciw.org. I'm Candace Michelle, and this is Our Community.
The opinions expressed here are those of the individual participants. Prairie Coast Community Radio takes no position on issues discussed in this program.